My name is Michael, I'm 54, and if someone had told me a decade ago that the girl who once pleaded with me to tie her ponytail for school would one day act like I was a stranger at her wedding, I'd have chuckled in disbelief. But family has a way of surprising you. The people you pour your heart into sometimes expect even more, only noticing your worth when the bank account runs dry. I met Lily when she was 9. Her mom, Sarah, and I were both recovering from painful divorces, hers messier than mine. Lily's father, Tom, was barely around, showing up maybe twice a year with a check, taking her for a quick soda, then disappearing for months. Sarah and I worked hard to create a steady home, bit by bit. I never aimed to replace anyone, but I was there for the school recitals, the skinned elbows, the late-night algebra struggles, the first breakup. I showed up, no matter how inconvenient, especially when it was inconvenient. Over time, Lily started calling me Dad. I never pushed for it. Early on, I told her I'd never claim that title unless she wanted me to. The day she looked up at me after her middle school ceremony and said, "Thanks, Dad," I'll confess, my eyes welled up. Sarah squeezed my hand, knowing what it meant to me. I paid for her braces, helped her buy her first car, a reliable used Toyota I'd saved for. When she got into her dream university, I drove the moving truck and spent 2 nights assembling dorm furniture. Every holiday, birthday, or rainy day she forgot her jacket, I was there. Not out of duty, but love. But things changed when she hit 20. It started small. The gratitude faded. Her calls became brief, almost businesslike. Then, in her final college year, Tom reappeared with a flourish. He'd supposedly changed. He posted old photos of them on social media, captions like, "So proud of my girl," conveniently editing Sarah and me out. Lily ate it up, craving his validation. I didn't hold it against her. Every child yearns for their parents' attention, even if that parent only shows up when it's easy. Still, I felt sidelined, like I'd been a temporary stand-in all along. Then came her engagement. She was overjoyed, and at first I was thrilled for her. I remember sitting on the sofa as she flashed her ring, the diamond sparkling. Sarah clapped, and I pulled Lily into a hug. "We're so proud," I said. Lily smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes when she replied, "Thanks. I'm just glad both my parents will walk me down the aisle." I froze. Sarah glanced at me and started, "You mean—" But Lily cut her off. "Of course, I mean Dad," she said, referring to Tom. "Not the man who taught her to ride a bike or stayed up when she had a fever. Not me." I let it slide then. Told myself it was just a phase, maybe nostalgia. She was reconnecting with her roots, and I could respect that. I could step back. But the signs kept mounting. She started calling Tom Dad exclusively again, and me Michael in front of others. She dropped my last name from her social media, which once read Lily Carter, reverting to her birth surname. She didn't ask me for a speech. When I offered to help with wedding costs, she nodded, smiled, and asked if I could cover the $12,000 venue deposit. No talk of repayment, no thanks, just the expectation I'd do it. I did, not for her, but because I knew Sarah couldn't bear a ruined wedding. I told myself not to take it personally, that I was doing it for love, for family. But as months passed, I felt more like a walking bank account than a father. Sarah noticed too. She tried talking to Lily gently, but Lily shut her down, accusing her of guilting her for wanting her real dad back. That word, real, cut deeper than I admitted. A week before the wedding, I overheard something I wasn't meant to. I came home early and paused in the hall when I heard Sarah and Lily in the kitchen. "He's paid for nearly everything, Lily," Sarah said firmly. "You can't act like he's invisible. He's been more of a father than Tom ever was." Lily scoffed. "That was his choice. Nobody made him." Sarah pressed. "You used to call him Dad." "That was before I had my real one back," Lily snapped. I slipped out before they knew I was there. Drove until my gas tank was nearly empty, saying nothing. The wedding day came. I wore my best suit, fumbled with my tie 3 times to get it right. I arrived early, set up chairs, checked with vendors, ensured the speakers worked. Lily barely glanced at me. Tom arrived late, reeking of cologne, and she hugged him like he'd just returned from a battlefield. I stood back, watching, feeling like a guest at a party I'd paid for but wasn't invited to. During the ceremony, I sat quietly beside Sarah. When the officiant asked who was giving her away, Lily took Tom's arm and smiled. No mention of me. No look my way. The reception was harder. The father-daughter dance was with Tom. Her speech thanked her mom, her new in-laws, and my amazing dad, Tom, who came back just when I needed him. My name was never spoken, not once. I didn't cause a scene, I didn't storm out. I smiled when eyes met mine, shook hands, toasted the couple, clapped at the right moments. But inside, something was fraying. A quiet, smoldering ache. After the cake cutting, as guests thinned out, I was by a table grabbing my coat when Lily approached, glowing and self-assured, the kind of tired that follows a day of being the center of attention. She handed me a folded note. "The final balance," she said brightly, like we were settling a casual bill. "Thought you'd want to clear it before we leave tomorrow." I opened it. The figure made my jaw clench. I looked at her. She smiled, expecting me to nod, to pull out my wallet like always. I didn't. Instead, I turned, walked past her, down the steps, through the lot, and into the night. Silent. I didn't sleep that night. Not from anger. That would have been simpler. Not even from pain. It was colder, like a gate had locked somewhere deep inside, and I had no urge to reopen it. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, watching shadows shift with passing car lights. Sarah came home late, visibly shaken, sensing the shift. She tried to talk, but I said softly, "Not tonight." I wasn't ready to voice what I knew was coming. The next day, my phone buzzed endlessly. Missed calls, texts from Sarah, Lily, even Tom, which caught me off guard since he'd barely acknowledged me all weekend. I ignored them. I made coffee, sat in my study, and opened a folder labeled wedding costs. Every receipt, transfer, invoice, meticulously organized, it totaled just under $38,000. I'd covered over 80% of the event, including Lily's last-minute extravagances, imported floral arrangements, a midnight burger bar, a lavish wine fountain. And that final balance she'd given me, not an official invoice, but a handwritten tally, including items I'd already paid. She tried to double-charge me, assuming I'd be too soft or sentimental to notice. That Sunday, I filed disputes with the venue and vendors I'd paid, sending receipts and proof. I froze the wedding fund I'd set up with Sarah for emergency purchases. I texted Lily. "I'm no longer covering any wedding costs. Any remaining balance is between you and your biological father. Please communicate through your mother going forward. Best wishes in your new life. No signature sent. Phone off." That night, Sarah and I talked. No more dodging. She was devastated. Not just about Lily, but us. How it had unraveled. She admitted she'd seen Lily's behavior shift, but hoped it was just wedding stress. "I thought she'd come around," she said. "She did see," I replied quietly. "She just didn't care." Sarah didn't argue. The days that followed were chaotic. Lily sent a long, self-justifying email, not to apologize, but to explain. She said she didn't mean to hurt me, but it was her day, and she shouldn't have to fake anything for anyone's comfort. She called me immature for walking out and shirking my duties, which was bold, considering I'd made the wedding possible. I didn't reply. A week later, Tom called, leaving a voicemail. "Man to man, you blew this out of proportion. You know how girls are with their dads. It's emotional. She needed me, and I showed up. Don't punish her for wanting her real family." I stared at my phone, incredulous. He showed up. I'd been there when Lily had surgery at 13 and Tom was too busy. I'd covered her tuition shortfall in college when she was too ashamed to ask. I'd shown up every day for a decade, never asking for praise. But Tom waltzed in, posed for pictures, and was suddenly Father of the Year. That's when I decided I wasn't just walking away, I was done being used. I called my accountant, closed the joint account, updated my will, removing Lily as a beneficiary. I donated a chunk to a scholarship for foster kids, children who actually needed help. Then I wrote Sarah a letter. Not bitter, not vengeful, just final. I said I didn't fully blame her, but I couldn't keep giving to a family that valued me only for what I provided. I cared for her, always would, but I had to protect my dignity. I left the letter on the counter and moved to a condo I'd quietly bought months earlier as a precaution. I never thought I'd need it, but some part of me had known. Weeks passed, then a month. Sarah reached out a few times. Lily didn't. I heard through a friend that she and Tom tried to get a loan for the remaining wedding costs, but were denied. They were shocked the rich stepdad had vanished. Then one afternoon, Sarah texted, "She's here, wants to talk. Please, she's crying." I didn't respond immediately. I sat at my desk, thinking of every smile I'd given that girl, every moment of fatherhood I thought mattered, every dollar, every late night, every proud glance at her graduation, every quiet, "I've got you." Then I stood, grabbed my briefcase, and went home. Lily was on the couch, hands clasped, eyes swollen. She stood when she saw me. "Michael," she started. I raised a hand, and what I said next, and how she reacted, changed everything. She opened her mouth again, but I stayed calm. Steady. I set my briefcase on the table like it was any other day, then met her gaze, not with anger, but resolve. "You know," I said, "when you were 13, You begged me to come to your school's father-daughter brunch because you didn't want to be alone. You said Tom hadn't called in half a year. I took the morning off, wore that hideous green tie you loved, and brought your favorite pastries. You held my arm and told everyone I was your dad. Lily blinked, cheeks red, maybe shame, maybe embarrassment. I couldn't tell. You remember that? She asked softly. I remember everything, Lily, because I was there for everything, and I wasn't keeping a tally. Not then. But it seems someone was. She looked at her hands, fidgeting. I messed up, she said. I know I did. I was trying to, I don't know, make things right with Tom. I didn't think it would hurt you like this. I tilted my head. Didn't think or didn't care? She flinched. That's not fair. What's not fair? I said, voice low but firm. That you let me pay for a role I was never invited to play? You walked past me over and over and I kept telling myself to let it go. I sat through every slight, every exclusion, every erasure of 10 years. And still, I paid for the tablecloths. She looked up, confused. Tablecloths? Embroidered tablecloths, I said, almost laughing at the absurdity. $4.50 each with your new initials, the ones I'm not part of. Silence. I didn't mean for it to be like this, she whispered. You thought I'd just take it, I said, softer now. Like always. Sarah stepped from the hallway, eyes red, having listened. She stayed silent. Lily turned to her, desperate. Mom, tell him. Sarah shook her head slowly. No, Lily. Not this time. Lily looked between us, realizing no one was bailing her out. The ground was shifting, and she didn't know how to stand. I didn't expect you to just vanish, she said, voice breaking. I didn't vanish, I replied. I stopped showing up for people who treat me like a service. You made a choice at your wedding. I'm making one now. Tears filled her eyes, but I felt nothing stir. Not pity, not vindication, just calm. I came to apologize, she said. To fix this. No, I said. You came to stop the consequences. That's different. She sank back, deflated. So that's it? You're done? I looked at her for a long moment. I don't know, I said honestly. But forgiveness isn't something you can demand after silence like that. It's earned, and that's not something I can give like another payment. Her shoulders slumped, and for the first time, she didn't argue or defend herself. She just sat, surrounded by the ruins of a bond she hadn't realized she'd broken until it was too late. I picked up my things, nodded to Sarah, and headed for the door. As I reached it, Lily called out, voice shaky. What do I have to do to make this right? I paused, hand on the door, not turning. You start by not asking me to tell you, I said. Then I walked out. I didn't go far, just around the block, to breathe, to think. I wasn't sure if I was done for good, but I was done being taken for granted. What happened next? That's when things got real. For 3 days, silence. No texts, no calls, no apologies. Just quiet. Sarah sent one message. I'm so sorry. I didn't reply. I wasn't mad at her, but I needed distance. I'd been the pillar everyone leaned on, and now that I'd stepped back, the cracks were clear. I was done being the supporting actor. I wanted to see if anyone remembered who'd been holding the stage. On day 4, my assistant buzzed my office, not the condo, my consulting firm. A young woman's here, says her name's Lily, no appointment. I hesitated. My instinct was to send her away, but her name sounded different in my assistant's voice. Weary, perhaps. Let her in, I said. Lily walked in, not with her usual confidence, but cautiously, like entering a sacred space. Her hair was pulled back, no makeup, no flashy bag. Just her and a slim folder. She sat across from me, opened it silently, and slid it over. Inside were receipts, bank statements, a payment breakdown, and a typed letter titled Wedding Cost Repayment Plan. I went through it all, she said softly. Every vendor, every transaction. I called the venue, the caterer, the photographer. I listed what you paid and what I owe. I added interest and made a repayment plan over 3 years. If you agree, I'll sign it. I blinked. She wasn't crying or pleading, just presenting facts, taking responsibility. I got your text, she said. I hated it. Thought you were overreacting, maybe spiteful, but then I thought about it from your side. I remembered when you drove 8 hours back from a work trip because I needed help with a college essay due at midnight. You stayed up until 3 a.m., then left at 6 for another meeting. You never mentioned it again. You just did it. She looked at her hands. And my 16th birthday, when Tom promised to show up but didn't. You tracked down that rare vinyl record I loved and gave it to me like it was nothing. I hugged you so tight because in that moment, I didn't miss him at all. Her voice wavered, but she steadied it. I remembered everything, and the more I did, the worse I felt. I didn't just cut you out of the wedding, I cut you out of my life. Like you were a stand-in until my real dad showed up. She met my eyes. But you were never a stand-in. You were the one who stayed. I said nothing. My throat was tight, and I didn't trust my voice. I'm not asking for forgiveness today, she said. I just want you to know I see it now. All of it, and I'll make it right. Not with words, with time, with effort. I opened the folder. The figures were correct. The plan was reasonable. She'd included a clause. If she missed 2 payments, the full debt was due. It was never about the money. She knew that. That's why this mattered. After a long pause, I nodded. All right, I said. Show me you mean it. She exhaled, not relief, but resolve. That was 6 months ago. She's made every payment since. Small amounts, $150, $200, but steady. More than that, she's shown up, weekly calls, dinner with her and her husband, just us 3. No big speeches, just time, a chance to rebuild. Sarah and I took our own path. We didn't rush back together. We took space, talked honestly for the first time in years. We're dating again now, cautiously, like 2 people relearning trust. Lily asked last week if I'd be part of her child's life. She's expecting, due soon. Her voice trembled, like she feared I'd say no. I didn't. I said I'd think about it. Then I smiled. I've got plenty of bedtime stories saved up, she cried, joyful tears this time. We're not perfect. There are still wounds, but wounds mean healing, not erasing. For the first time in years, I don't feel unseen. I feel noticed. Not for what I gave, but for who I am. And sometimes that's the greatest comeback. Not the quiet exit, not the cold farewell, but becoming someone they can't overlook. I didn't walk away to guilt them. I walked away to remember I mattered. And now, they know it too.